Greetings. Welcome to Speak Nerd and Enter.
All right. All right. I'll do it again. Welcome to Speak Nerd and Enter. I'm Sean, and next to me is my brother, the infamous. That's your signal, sir. Go ahead. Apparently mute K-Man. A far cry from his time as the front man for Static X, where he was known as Wayne Static. His hair, of course, done differently now. And next to him is Rich. And on the end there, of course, we have our fearless ship's captain. You want to introduce yourself there?
Captain Mark.
Captain Mark. Okay. Smooth. Very
smooth. Yeah, I might have to edit that whole thing out. That was lame.
Captain Ron.
Captain Ron. Of course, I believe in Jesus.
See, that would have been a good intro line right there. That you should have done. Yes, edit it so you say that. That's brilliant. Mm-hmm. That I like. That was real good. Mark, I understand that you had a dream that you wanted to talk about.
I did. I don't claim that it in any way compares to the dreams that the K-Man has regaled us with.
Oh, and by the way,
I felt it was appropriate.
Just to let people know, both Mark and I are under the weather, and so we're going to try to be at least fair and middling on using the mute button, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I've had a pretty terrible cough and all that stuff, so hopefully it'll go well. But the coughing only happens when I talk, so we should be fine. Anywho, I had this dream where you, Sean, sent an email or a voicemail rather to Kelly, and I'm assuming Rich, but for some reason it went to all of us. So I heard this voicemail that was not meant, talking about how I was wrong for having a role-playing game setting set during wartime, right? You're like, no, he's wrong for this reason and that reason, and you had like these whole reasons laid out. And so number one, I'm like, why am I hearing this? And you're like kind of talking behind my back about how running this game that is set during a war. It's like a D&D campaign or whatever, not like World War II or something like that. And I forget the reasons that you had listed off, but in the dream there were like 3 or 4.
That's convenient.
Reasons were like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do the other, can't. It's convenient, yeah. Maybe even bordering on silly. But anyway, that was the gist of the dream, and I was just like, okay, like number one, if you've ever been privy to any kind of email or conversation that wasn't meant for you, but you get a hold of it, you have that kind of weird feeling about it. So that was, kind of waking up out of the dream. You're like, oh, Sean's, talking behind my back and saying that I'm, wrong for, how I was choosing to run a game that I'm not actually running. And I wish I remember the reasons, but again, this was like a month ago or something. So, and I didn't write it down. I didn't journal it like Kelly does. So. That's all I have to say.
I feel that's a shot at my journaling.
I feel like that's it. Yeah, I feel like that's actually just a demonstration of how poor a judiciary proponent you are. That you come in here with half-baked accusations of my
half-baked.
Yeah, my going behind your back and some sort of conspiracy-esque theory in your own dream. I find it very poor on your part. And I'll have you know that I spoke very highly of you. Just 2 weeks
in
ago,
your dream?
As a matter of fact. No, in real life, very highly of you. Yes. So there you are.
Well, thank you for that.
I was really looking forward to hearing the listing of my reasons.
I wish I remembered. I really do. Like, I remember the dream you had like listed all 4 of them, and I don't recall them because I've been sick and it's been a month. I'm sorry.
Perhaps the stream was inspired by our discussion of Twilight 2000 months ago.
Twilight 2000.
Mm-hmm. At one point, we mentioned Twilight.
I don't
2000.
remember having that
yeah,
discussion. I remember the role play game, but I don't remember the discussion.
I believe we talked about it and how the fact that it was set during the United States in wartime, but when it was made, I mean, it was the 80s, I believe. Twilight 2000 came out, so it was there was controversy that it was set up between the U.S. and Russia, and there's all that stuff. So perhaps there were.
You mean the people we were actually in conflict with at the time the game was written? How controversial?
I don't know if we were in full conflict with them. We were definitely in button heads for sure, but
there was a Cold War. I distinctly remember it.
I don't know if it was cold. No, I agree. Yes, I'm
tepid.
Yeah, I like tepid. There you go, Kelly.
Tepid.
Tepid
lukewarm.
You know, the Cathros are known for having dreams about me. As a matter of fact, I will always remember Mark's mom telling me that she had a dream about me in fatigues. I was in army fatigues, as she described it, coming out of a tent, getting ready to go into a war or something. And I thought that was.
No, I had that dream.
Tapping into.
No, I remember having that dream.
No, your mom
telling you
told
about
me.
it. Yeah, no, that was me.
It's all dreams.
Really? Okay.
Voices from the multiverse.
Well, I had a similar dream. We all love dreaming about Sean and fatigue.
He's dreamy. DREAMY.
Dreamy and apparently backstabbing.
Yes, apparently not to be trusted. Dreamy and not to be trusted.
Yeah, not to be trusted. With very very vague reasoning, apparently.
Yeah, apparently you feel insecure about how Sean feels about you. I mean, I would have expected.
Wow, we're going deep now.
Sean would have talked to your front about whatever the problems were, and then you guys would have gotten in an argument. And
I think you two need to settle this.
Right? No, I agree with that. And I don't. I take a bit of umbrage with the term backstabbing. This was not a, if you're having a voicemail with Kelly and going, yeah, I don't think that would be a good campaign for these reasons. That's not stabbing me. I also know that you would absolutely say to my face any of those things. It was just I end up hearing the voicemail and going, oh, it doesn't mean you would never have that conversation with me or anything.
Were you hurt?
In your heart?
No, it was like the thing I remember most about the dream was me hearing this voicemail that wasn't meant for me.
Right.
Not I'm hurt. Like I can defend my position on anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, no, if I want to have a role playing game set during a wartime, I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? And I'll tell you why. I'll give you my own 4 reasons. So like, I don't have a problem with a difference of opinion of, I think it would be funner to do it this way versus that way. So like in the dream, no, I wasn't hurt. It was more this communication wasn't meant for me and I'm hearing it.
Okay. No,
stood out more than what you were saying.
I didn't mean because you couldn't defend yourself. I mean, I was wondering at your reaction that I would do such a thing. You know what I mean? Not so much what was said and could you defend yourself.
Right.
The very fact that I had done it. You know what I mean? That's what I was. I wonder how he reacted to that.
No, that wasn't really like, a factor. It was just more like, it was a weird thing to say, like, oh, you're running a role-playing game wrong because you set your campaign in this way.
Yeah.
Who says that? You know what I'm saying? Like maybe people on the Star Wars forums.
Now, to let you know,
that's about it. You don't.
In the discussion that I had a discussion with Helena. I can't remember exactly how it came up, but it was a discussion that wound up with her asking, I think maybe it's in relation to like my buddy James and how I don't, really talk to him much anymore and stuff like that. And it's not because I don't like him or anything, but she was asking, do you think there's anything that would happen between you and Mark that would do kind of the same thing where I just wouldn't, I wouldn't think of you like a friend or any of that stuff. And I told Helena, and I said, prepare to get. You might want to get a tissue out because this is gonna be strong.
Grab one.
I'm ready. Tell him I'm ready.
I told her that Mark is as close to me as my own brother, and that regardless of what kind of arguments or disagreements or any of that stuff that we might have about anything, that right in the middle of the most heated argument we could have, if Mark suddenly needed my help or any of that, all that stuff would be dropped in a moment. That none of that matters because you are like my brother, you helped carry my father to his grave. You helped carry my mother to her grave. You've been there for me through, all these times and difficulties in my life. There's nothing that would do that, So, yeah, I guess to contrast your hard dream of me with the actual reality of, how much I think of you and care about you to show.
No, but that makes the point. That's why I wasn't upset in the way that I might be, that other people might be. I'm like, like if you said that in real life, like Mark, I think Mark's doing this wrong, running this game in a way I don't agree with. Okay, we would talk about that or come to blows about it, or I tell you you're wrong and F off. You know what I'm saying? And vice versa. And some people are just so sensitive about everything. So it wasn't about you disagreeing with what I was doing in the game. It was really more about why am I getting this voicemail? And, something could be said for like, oh, you're going to go talk to Kelly and Rich about it and not me, which I don't know if you'd actually do that. You'd probably talk to me directly or whatever.
Sorry,
I don't know, but it was just, that was the dream. Yeah. Are you crying, or are you just blowing your nose? Or
it started as blowing
I assume that
it started as blowing my nose because both of us are sick, and then I thought I got the tissue, I might as well lean into it. So.
Might as well use it. Yeah.
Might as well. Yeah. I don't know. I think that it's interesting to me how easily certain relationships. By the way, if there's any noise or anything, to reiterate, I got a contractor here in the house working on.
That's a bit early to be doing floors, man.
Yeah, for real.
He's doing a lot. He's putting in hardwood floors and
on that main level or somewhere else.
Main level hardwood. 2 rooms are being redone with carpet, and the kitchen and bathroom being done with like a stone linoleum laminate thing that looks really nice.
So you're doing all the floors in hard, like the living room, dining room, and that other room that nobody goes into?
No. The other room that nobody goes into, the family room, that actually is going to be carpet. The office is going to be carpet. Hardwood for the living room, the foyer, the dining room, and the walkway in between the office and all that. That's going to be hardwood. And then the kitchen and the bathroom are going to have like a stone linoleum look.
That's going to be nice, man.
Thank you. Yeah, he's doing a really great job. He's doing this like herringbone thing for the primary foyer that looks really good.
He better be doing a good job if he starts this early.
As a matter of fact, when we're done, I'll show you some what it looks like.
Yeah, when they roll in at like 11 or 12, that's when you got to be concerned about the quality.
Yeah.
At that point, you're getting riverwood and shit nailed to your floor.
And I knew I could trust him right away because his name is Mark.
Captain Mark?
But he spells it with a C.
Captain Mark. That's right.
M-A-R-C.
So anyway, yeah. Well, I think that's. I'm trying to think if I've ever. Yeah, I have done that sort of thing, Mark, where I've accidentally emailed everybody something, but that was at work. It was when I was in charge of revoking instructor credentials, and I sent an email to a guy. We had a case on this guy, and you got to send him an email saying these are the things that have been leveled against you. You have 30 days to respond, and all that stuff. So I sent him the letter saying all that, but I accidentally attached the entire file to the email. And so I sent him not only
Oh.
that, I sent him the guy who complained about him and all the,
Oh.
Oh yeah.
everything was with it. So I went and talked to General Counsel. I actually told him, I said, hey, I'll resign if you want. I'm sorry about that. It was a mistake. I'll resign if you want. And they said, no, don't even worry about it. They said, you have no idea how often that happens actually with lawyers, where one side will accidentally send everything over to the other lawyer. And he said, it's just common.
I've heard a couple stories about that. Yeah.
Yeah, he said it's common enough that etiquette says you just get rid of it. You don't even look at it. You just get rid of it as a courtesy to the other side. So, yeah. But I've done that, and I felt awful, because you sit there and tell people that you can give us that information anonymously and all that, and here it just sent the whole kit and caboodle.
No, but that is weird. I mean, because I've done it, and I've also been on the receiving end of it when you get stuff that somebody didn't intend to send you.
Yeah.
And it is odd. I agree with Mark's feeling about like, why do I have this? But I do find it's difficult to disconnect from some of it. Depending on how much you went into it before you realized you shouldn't have it. It leaves you with a thing, and it is like I had this really detailed dream about my boss. Once. It was many, many years ago, and I had this dream that we got married and had kids, and then she divorced and married this other guy at work and took the kids. And I had a meeting with her the next morning, and sitting across from her in that meeting room was the most uncomfortable thing I could ever, and so it's that moment.
Did you confront her about it? I would have.
I thought we had something special. No, but it's that thing about we
All right, setting aside these quarterly reports, I'd like to address a separate matter.
I want visitation, damn it. But the no, that's weird, man. That's weird. And
So Kelly has some really good ones. That's a whiz bang. That's really good.
When I dream, which is rare, they're often extremely detailed.
I can't compete.
Strangely enough, I've been dreaming every night.
Well, I occasionally have done some when Sean was in that role. He'd email me or call me up and be like, "Hey, can you, act as a third party and do some stuff?" And they got a complaint about this guy. I happen to be living in Massachusetts, and he was in Massachusetts, and they got a complaint about this guy. And he's like, "Can you go check this guy out?" As part of the thing. And he was a firearms instructor, and he had one good arm, or something. But he essentially had one arm that he could use. And I go meet this guy, and we go to the range, and he's telling me through everything, and I'm like, okay, well, what if there was an accident on the range, and they had to clear everybody out as a medical thing or something, and in the shooting positions aren't loaded. And I'm like, well, how would you do that with one arm? But every answer he gave was good. This guy was 100%. He was firing on all cylinders. He was everything you want in an instructor.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, why am I here talking? Because he got a complaint, and it turned out he was teaching classes either for free or so cheap that some of the other instructors were jealous and were trying to sabotage his credentials. And I remember coming out of that this is the guy you want. I don't know who did the complaint or whatever, but I just was this guy's answering all the questions right, and he knows what he's doing. And even with his disability, he showed me that he could handle it, because you can get another person to help you unload it, or you can there's ways to do it with one-handed, or it's not in a vacuum or whatever. But I just remember coming out of that upset at whoever complained about this guy. And I remember reporting back, I'm like, this guy's great. I'd take classes from him. You know what I mean? So not all complaints are on face value. You know what I mean? There's always,
well, it's a weird thing.
In this case, I think it was jealousy and greed.
I was talking to two of my coworkers today. the two ladies I've told you about before, you know, I think of them kind of like my daughters, you know, and I was telling them about that in my experience in life, the thing that generally, because they were upset about, you know, various work things and supervisors and all that, and we were talking about that stuff, and I said, no, honestly, the thing I find you have to watch out for the most in life is coworkers, you know, that you'll end up with somebody who's, you know, jealous of something and decides to, you know, start making trouble, and you're like, where the hell did that come from, you know? So yeah, I think the same thing applies to what you were talking about there, and it's nice when you have somebody like you that you can send them into a situation like that. I remember that, and a few other times you did that stuff. It's so hard to get that impartial viewpoint, you know, and you feel so fortunate when you're able to get that sort of thing. Right. You're just hearing a he said, she said kind of situation most of the time, 90% of the time. But
right.
Anyway, unless it's your dream.
I am curious about dreams, though. I mean, how often do you all recall the dreams you've had?
Oh, just about every time. I'm not kidding. Just about every time. Yeah.
Do you dream frequently?
Pretty often.
Oh yeah, I dream a lot. Yeah, I dream a lot. They're not always super exciting.
But there are some dreams where you wake up and you're like, oh, that was weird, and it was related to this, but it fades really quickly. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like by 10 a.m. you've forgotten, you maybe remember some high points. So there's a lot that just kind of fade and go away. Yeah. But yeah, I dream all, like I woke up this morning and was like I was on Canva, which is an online graphics kind of thing that people use to make, you know, posters and stuff. Anyway, I was messing around on Canva yesterday, and it was like really the first time I'd actually messed with and done anything on Canva. And overnight I had the dream that it wasn't Canva, but I could tell Canva the how you use the tools. It was like seeping into the dream, and I woke up and I'm like, yep, I just dreamed about Canva last night. Yeah. You know, and you know, it's just weird because that's a thing I was thinking about. I dreamt a little bit about it last night. Couldn't tell you, you know, excuse me, I'm trying to suppress a cough. You know, and cool because it's what I was doing or what I was thinking about or a thing that I've been doing this week is usually how that kind of seeps into your dream, right?
You know what pisses me off, speaking of which, is when I go to sleep, Helena's watching one of her Hallmark, you know, love story things or something, and my dream is affected by that, and I'm in my dream wondering, why am I dreaming about this? Why am I involved in this? And then I wake up and realize that's why. You know, your entire dream experience was ruined because you were, you know, caught in a moment where you're getting this input from outside that's affecting it. I've had things like that with like fire engines and stuff. I'm like, where the hell did that come from? And then you wake up and,
I fell asleep one afternoon watching YouTube. Man, clip after clip going by, wildest dream I've had in forever. It was covered everything. Rich, you changed your background, and I say, brother, you look like you're in one of those videos from YouTube where a veteran's about to talk about some sort of experience they had in Afghanistan or something.
Yeah, listen here, brother. No, the only time I ever had a dream about flying. Yeah, I had this dream about flying. I was in my old neighborhood over in Maryland. And I'm walking up the street, and all of a sudden I start floating up like into the air, like I can fly, and I get up about as high as the telephone wires or whatever. And in the dream, I was scared it was going to wear off and I'd like fall and die, right? And so like the one time I have a dream where I could fly, I didn't embrace it and just fly like Superman. I'm like, I was all scared, and it was a very unsatisfying dream. Right. That's exactly what it was. It was more like, I'm going to crash or it's going to wear off and I'm going to fall down. And
this effect is actually very similar.
Yeah.
It is.
I want to have a dream where I can fly like Superman.
What's the coolest dream you've had? The one that you can remember anyway. While you're thinking of that, I did have a dream one time, Kelly, where mom and dad, what was the reason they did it? I can't remember the reason they did it, but they cut their own heads off and put them into a spaghetti sieve, right? And I was horrified. Went into the kitchen. their heads were in there, still able to talk, of course, because it's a dream. And they were telling me something about how it was inevitable and the world was going to end and all this. And I just remember the dream ending with me walking off into the sunset like it was a movie, walking off into the sunset, holding the Super Blackhawk in a holster and having a bag like over my shoulder. And it was like a movie. It was the ending of my dream was like a movie. And that's when I woke up. So,
Wow.
go ahead, Mark.
Wow.
Sorry.
I can't top that. I missed the mute button for that cough. Sorry. So probably the coolest dream that I remember, and again, it's one of those things that I don't remember every little bit of it. I had this rifle, and there was like a bunch of bad guys coming, and it was outside, and you know, it was kind of an open area. It might have been like Casca Park, which is this park we had growing up near our houses. But anyway, like, there's bad guys coming, and I don't know if they were like Russian invaders or some military had invaded, but you know, I'm using this rifle, and I'm like, bam, 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 and I'm like shooting all these bad guys, and then when it got time to like reload, you know, you pull the magazine out. That's when it got weird because the magazine wasn't like a regular magazine. It was almost this thing that like folded open like this, and where you would expect there to be like some kind of stuff. It was almost like those old cap guns that had the red plastic cups that were all strung together. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was kind of weird like that. But in the dream, I'm like, well, I don't know how to reload this, but there's still bad guys that need shooting, you know, and so that was like the frustrating part. But up until that part, I was, you know, Johnny Rambo and just like, you know, mowing them down in a very efficient manner. It wasn't like 80s action shooting from the hip. It was, you know, got this rifle, time to go to work kind of thing. And then it got weird when it was time to reload. That is, off the top of my head, probably one of the coolest dreams that I've ever had. Except for this one where I overheard my buddy talking shit about me running a role-playing game set during wartime.
Well, you know, you really deserve to be talked shit about.
He does. It's true. And have it sent to you.
I'm gonna set my next role-playing game session during wartime to spite you.
You should. You should. And I'll send an email talking about why it sucks. You shouldn't be able to do it. And I will send it.
Strongly worded letter.
Dear Kelly and Rich.
Strongly worded letter.
And Mark.
Dear Kelly and Rich, BCC Mark.
Yeah, exactly. So that you know what's meant. That's right. Yeah. What about you, Rich?
Where do you see this?
What about you, Rich?
In terms of dreams?
Yeah.
I can tell you about the most recent one I had. It was
No.
weird.
What's the best one?
Oh, I don't
favorite.
have any. Jeez, man. Hold on one.
Come on, just think of anyone that had me in it.
I had one where I was a Jedi. I had one where I was a Sith. And those were cool because wielding a lightsaber, you could feel the force, or I could feel the force as I used it. It was really awesome.
I've honestly never had. I will tell you about one that I had when I was a very small boy, though.
Yeah.
That I was flying, and I basically went out of my body, and I was flying around the buildings around the city that I used to live in or live near, and I still remember. I must have been 5 years old when I had this dream. So we're talking more than half a century.
Sean, he's right outside your door.
Yeah, I know.
Sounds like someone powering it in.
I know.
It's all right. But I remember that dream my whole life, and it's never escaped me because the feeling, it felt real. And I wonder, you know, people talk about out-of-body experiences, and they're more common when you're younger because your mind isn't as closed off, or you have more capacity to absorb parts of the universe and stuff like that. So I'm wondering if there's something to that. Because other people have had that experience, but that dream stuck with me my whole life, and I've always tried to kind of wish to get back to that experience. Never happened again. So one time, but as far as hero dreams or stuff like that, no, I don't have any memories of that, unfortunately.
I had a dream where, and that's how you can tell when I've unmuted my microphone, by the way. It's like an announcement. You'll hear the contractor. I had a dream. This was after I started doing the lucid dreaming. and I practiced that for a while because I had read Carlos Castaneda, and you know, it was in there, and so I decided to try it, and had a dream where I was really high up inside what looked like White Flint Mall, but like super tall, and had for some reason Star Wars type walkways with no railing on them, and, you know, all that stuff. And I was way up high on that and just knew I was going to fall. And I saw the back of my hand and realized, oh, wait a minute, I'm dreaming. So in my dream, I made myself grow like Giant Man and grew so tall that I was able to stand up inside the building. And that was pretty cool. And then after that, I had a dream where I fought a werewolf. I fought and killed a werewolf. It was in a dentist's office. and because come on, hey, you wouldn't expect
werewolves.
That's where you would not expect to be attacked by a werewolf. You've never seen a werewolf attack you in the dentist's office. So it was actually pretty smart of the creature to do that. And beat him, killed him with a hatchet, and then ended up fighting Jason and Voorhees, and made myself some Terminator armor and killed him with that. And that was pretty cool. Kelly, what do you got?
I don't generally have good dreams. All of mine are very apocalyptic and end of world things.
I have a lot of that too.
Yeah.
And
stress dreams.
to make the point, mine otherwise, I have a lot of dreams with a lot of horrible stuff in it, like parents cutting their heads off, things like that.
Yeah.
You know, those were just ones that were really cool because, you know, of circumstance or, you know, and the other one, I guess, practice. But yeah, those were anomalies that would normally mine are more akin to what you would talk about, Kelly. But
yeah, the one about like Paul dying was one of the highlights of dreams. You know, most of mine involved me attempting some heroic thing, but because your subconscious can't deal with it, you can't do it, you know, and then you wake up just before your ultimate demise. I had one the other night. I had this horrible headache, went to sleep. Debbie had come over to you know, help massage my neck, and she brought me some stuff to help with my headache. And so I'd gone to lay down. I went to sleep, and I had this dream that somebody came in my house, in my apartment, and I thought it was one of the kids coming over, something like that, right? But I was like, it didn't make sense that they were there, and so I got up to check it out, and I heard some rumbling about in the kitchen, and so in the dream I had gotten out of bed and I backed up, and there's a katana in my room on a stand, and I reached back and grabbed that, and went out.
Katana? Is that the katana that you got for your birthday?
No, second one, same manufacturer, but I
okay.
went and bought another one.
I got you.
And slowly made my way through the house, calling out in what can only be grunts and random sounds because I can't talk. Right? It's like if you were a stroke victim and you're trying to speak but you can't.
Right.
And it's that as I'm going through the apartment, and I come around the corner to where the kitchen is, and I take the katana out, and sitting in the corner of the kitchen is this, you know, she had to be like 45-year-old woman sitting there topless, using my tea kettle in the dark, you know, just sitting there in the corner. And I was like, what the hell are you doing in my house? Get out of my house. You know, again, trying to say that. And she got up and she was like all put out, like, why you gotta be like that? You know, and like started walked out of the kitchen, like picked up her shirt and started to put it on. And I was like, just get out of my house.
You can tell Kelly was raised in southern Maryland.
And so
that's a common occurrence around Waldorf and that kind of.
She leaves, and so I wake up and I have no concept of how much time has passed from when I fell asleep, and I thought Debbie had gone home and that kind of thing. And so I'm laying there, and I picked up my phone and I texted Deb. I said, I just had the weirdest dream. Are you awake? I want to tell you about it. And she was still here. And she walked up to my room and said, I'm still here, scared the living shit out of me. Because I was like, I didn't even know, why are you here? I thought you had left and gone home. I was up the rest of the night. Couldn't go back to sleep. Totally freaked out.
I had one where it was in the house we were living in Temple Hills.
Yeah.
The one on St. Barnabas Road. And in my dream, for some reason I saw this happen. You know, it's one of those omniscient things in your dream where you just see things as they're happening, right?
Yeah.
There was a story on the news about a killer running around. Normally, I don't have those kinds of dreams, but a killer running around. And then I saw in reality outside my house, some unknown faceless killer grab Steve Gutenberg and rip his throat out with his thumb.
Damn that
And
movie.
Wow.
Cocoon.
yeah,
Cocoon
yeah.
just set it up.
yeah. So I remember that one, and yeah, you made me think of that. It was both because you wake up and of course you're kind of disturbed because someone just got brutally murdered, but then you think about it after a while and you wonder about the random specificness of Steve Gutenberg being in there.
Right.
And,
Yeah, I haven't thought about him in a minute, right?
Right. It's like he
Academy,
hasn't worked in so long.
Cocoon.
He's taking cameos in my dream. So I don't know. But what was the other one? Mark had one. Mark, you did have one about aliens attacking or something. I remember you telling me about it.
I'm not sure it's ringing any bells with me. You got any more details on what I said? Yeah, I don't know.
Something about having a big drawn out fight that went into like a nightclub or disco or something, some sort of weird setting like that. I don't know. It sounded to me like it was around the time of V, maybe, but
like way back in the 80s. Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
That show
from
sucked.
a ways back. Yeah.
It didn't back then. That was the coolest thing ever.
I will say V had,
She swallowed a gerbil.
No, it wasn't a gerbil. It was a rat, wasn't it?
Guinea pig or something.
Guinea pig.
Is it a rat?
Bigger rodent.
It was something you're not supposed to eat.
It was a red panda.
Snake lady. I give V some props for pushing the envelope, doing things dramatically that hadn't been done before.
They pushed the envelope, but it aged quickly and badly.
It did. It did.
Yeah.
It was like Buck Rogers bad.
Yeah.
Buck Rogers. Look, the season with Hawk, where they introduced Hawk, was fantastic. And his Hawk ship. And his Hawk wife.
You're
with the little talons on the spaceship.
Yes.
And the feathers.
Starfighter.
The hairline of
Hawk's
feathers.
girlfriend was I had a crush on her as a kid. Yeah.
The Hawk wife. Yes.
And what's her face? What was the name of the chick that was in the Buck Rogers thing?
Wilma Deering.
Yeah.
Aaron Gray, is that who it was?
She had the classic 80s look. It was her and what's her face from T.J. Hooker. I can't remember her
T.J.
name.
Hooker.
God.
The blonde Heather Locklear. That's it.
Heather Locklear.
Yep.
Yeah, T.J. Hooker.
Yep.
Yeah, Heather Locklear.
Her and what's her face from Charlie's Angels. The
Farrah
blonde.
Fawcett.
Farrah Fawcett. Thank you. All of them have a similar kind of look somehow, even though one of them was a brunette.
Yeah.
But they all had that similar look. And yeah. I never got into that 80s look that way. It never did anything for me. No. But yeah, I remember they looked the same.
Yeah, but I watched all those shows because we had 4 channels and we all watched.
Yeah. And the stupid robots from
the same
Buck
stuff.
Rogers.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
What was that? What was his name? Dr. something.
T.J. Hooker.
Dr. Zayas?
In what?
No, not Dr. Zayas. No, from Buck Rogers. The one that was worn on the necklace.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, him and the little rip-off C-3PO
the
R2-D2 robot. Tweaky and the other thing.
Yeah, I don't remember the other guy's name.
Jesus, you won't remember too much of this shit.
No. Yeah, I do.
I'm
upset about it. I'm upset
that's right.
Of my brain capacity has been used for that.
There's Aaron Gray's midriff.
Although it did give me.
I remember her from that show with like the rich kid.
Wasn't she on Magnum
Spoons,
PI
that's what
one?
it was. It was a.
Huh?
Wasn't she?
Everybody was on Magnum PI once.
Yeah, she was on an episode of Magnum PI, first season of Magnum PI.
I just saw she's still doing appearances at of course, at comic book conventions and those signing conventions. She's held up. She still looks very nice. She's aged. She didn't, do all the plastic surgery. She allowed herself to age gracefully, so she looks very good.
Yeah, no, my wife showed me this movie the other day, and I forget the name of it, but it was like from the 70s, and it had Barbara Streisand in it, but when she was really young.
Dark Shadows.
And it was, I forget.
Fiddler
No, it was like they all had the same like bag, and they got mixed up, and so
What's Up, Doc?
What's Up, Doc?
thieves.
Yeah.
What's up? Yeah, that was it. So, but anyway, Higgins was in that. Like I'm watching this movie because she watched it as a kid, and we're watching it in the hotel room, and I'm like, it's Higgins, So
we've dated everybody.
Bring that full circle. I had never seen that movie before.
Fans.
Let me just say, they made movies a lot differently in the 70s than they did in the 80s and 90s and today. Wow.
Everyone has dropped off. There's like, these old farts talking about this stuff.
Hey, they can say that, but
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But you know what? That's actually one of my niece's favorite movies too. I love What's Up, Doc.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great movie. Great movie. Showed it to my kids. They love it.
Yeah, I had never seen it. And I'll say this, like, I've never been, I'm going to say, a fan of Barbara Streisand, but I've never been not a fan either.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And her in this movie, she is not classically Hollywood beautiful. You know what I mean? Like, when you think movie star, right, there's some very beautiful women that fit that role. And she's not to say she's not talented, not to say she's not beautiful, but in that movie, I swear I couldn't look away from her. She had that star power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm just like, I'd never seen her like that before in other movies, and obviously I'm familiar with her. She's very famous, and I'm not trying to say anything about like her talent or anything like that. But wow, in that movie, like, I was mesmerized. I was like, I had never seen her as the Hollywood star that she was in that movie.
Yeah.
And you never saw her. Never saw her that
new respect
again.
for
funny.
Yeah, Barbara's like butter, man.
Yeah,
maybe.
No, you're right.
I agree. Yeah,
and that movie, I think it was a mixture of the charisma of the character, and the way they had her, the makeup and all that, the way they had her done up. Not like she was overdone, not at all. Don't get me wrong. But the way that they had her, I guess, composed or whatever.
There you go.
But the charisma, like that.
Yeah,
the charisma and all that
right.
She had
too. And that hat is so dumb. I was like, that's the dumbest hat ever, but it's working.
Yeah. Yeah, she was. Yeah, that was great, and that was her first movie.
Oh man,
that was her first. I love that.
Oh, was it? Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite movies. I have. Okay. I actually have that. I bought that on the Movies Plus thing or whatever the service is, the one that collects all your purchases together. That's one of the ones
digital or whatever.
Wasn't that? It was an early film for Madeline Kahn too, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. So do we. I was like, not enough gunplay, but
was it early for her?
Madeline Kahn was a very beautiful lady, actually.
But see, the problem is that's the juxtaposition is that Madeline Kahn in What's Up, Doc doesn't look great. They did, they composed her so she looks rather frumpy and
frumpy. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, because I was looking at her, I was like, I know who that is. Who is that? You know what I mean? Like, and then when the credits rolled, I was like, Madeline Kahn. I was like, I thought that was her.
It was.
She was in Blazing Saddles, right?
Right.
Yeah. It was her first movie, 1972.
Right.
She was in a short in 1968, but 72 was her first feature.
It's early 70s. Okay, even.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, because you look at her in those other movies, and you're like, it's hard to believe it's the same lady.
Yeah,
the same kind of however they composed her, put her together for that movie, they definitely achieved their goal with that.
The writing for that movie was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. I mean, that was fantastic, start to finish.
Yeah, I don't think it got. I think it was actually criminally undervalued for when it came out. Yeah, it was an homage to those old Cary Grant movies, and I thought they did a wonderful job with that. And back then, when I first saw it, I was a kid. You know, the
Yeah.
only reason I ever watched it is because they had that little snippet of Bugs Bunny in the movie, and that's what kept me watching it. And I kept waiting for Bugs Bunny to show up again because it was called What's Up, Doc? And it didn't, but I didn't care. I actually enjoyed just how ridiculous the movie was.
No, I thought about it the other day when I went to go get stuff out of my car, and I thought to myself, igneous rock formations, and started to laugh a little bit about it. It was funny.
And the story she was telling about how he saved the plane as it was getting ready to
Yeah.
crash and all.
Yeah. And I've seen the dude that threw that party in a bunch of other
He's
movies.
been in
Like,
a
I don't
lot,
remember his name or
Yeah.
whatever. Right, but I'm like, oh, look at him, like super young, you know, and then, you know, I recognize him from, you know, obviously
And the
being
guy
older
who
or whatever,
played-
but it was neat to see an older movie like that and recognize some of those people like when they were really, really young.
Yeah, and the guy who plays the antagonist, you know, the other scientist, right? He was in Young Frankenstein, I believe, as the field marshal who was in charge of the police for the town, the one with the wooden arm or whatever, who kept sticking the stuff in his arm and talked with the accent and all.
Arms.
Yeah. So I think that was him. I think that was the same guy. But
Ryan
yeah, there was a lot of people in that one.
Was it Ryan O'Neal?
No.
Yeah, it's always fun to see
He was
the
in
cars
the
in the
movie, but he's not
background
one
and
of
what
them.
life was like in you know, if it came out in 72, it was probably 71, 70 when they filmed it, you know, and you're like, wow, that was you get to see what it was like back then.
Yeah.
And well, remember for some.
Wow, who knew this episode was going to go to
Barbara Streisand.
What's Up, Doc? Yeah,
Yeah, not where I expected we'd end up.
not at all.
But I
Not at
found
all.
Not even a little bit. Yeah,
I
But
found
it's
a
funny
picture of the Meltorium.
I don't think that movie made it on any of our top 10 lists though.
The Meltorium.
You know,
I don't
it
remember.
was actually it was on one of my lists. It was. I think it was on like maybe Guilty Pleasures or something like that, or you know, comfort movies or something like that. Yeah, that's one of the ones that I can just put on in the background and just do things. You know,
Like Highlander.
No.
No.
No, but it's funny you
Highlander.
mentioned
I
Higgins
remember.
being in that movie because I mean, when you see Higgins in that movie, you're like, he's played the same character his entire career.
Yeah,
Right?
pretty
I mean,
much.
'cause-
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it
he
was.
was in Blazing Saddles playing kind of the same guy there.
Yeah,
Looked
Yeah.
exactly the same too.
Yeah. Yes, he did.
Never changed. John Hillerman. Let's give him his credit.
Don Hillerman. Yeah.
He was in Simon and Simon, Murder She Wrote.
Yeah, John Hellerman.
What else?
I think I saw something the other day.
He
You
passed
know
away
this-
not
About
too long ago.
Highlander, the remake. I think it.
What you say, Rich?
No, I was reading some of his bio. I did not realize that Higgins in the Magnum show, Dr. Jonathan Quayle Higgins III, the Baron of Perth, VC. Didn't realize he was the Baron of Perth.
And he used to be Spec Ops.
Love that show. Magnum, the original Magnum PI, fantastic. The whole
Yeah,
season,
Magnum PI. That was a great
the
show.
whole series. Yeah.
No, it was a great show.
Yeah, remember they did that big 2-part with Ivan where they blew up his car and ended up killing his friend, and and they they had to go get the George Washington of Asia or whatever. Like, yeah, other than the helicopter pilot firing two G3s, one in each hand, it was still a good time.
Yeah, that was a really good show. I enjoyed that one a lot. Yeah, that was a good time. You had David Letterman when he was, really just starting out and throwing watermelons and fluorescent lights from the buildings and stuff, and you had Magnum on and all that, and that was a good time, man. That was a good time.
Talking about David Letterman reminds me of Larry Bud Melman. Was on
Larry
the
Bud.
regular on the regular on the David Letterman show.
Yeah, and Chris Elliott.
Yeah.
The man who lived under the stairs in the studio. Yeah, that was a great show.
I remember Chris Elliott going on the show, and I think it was with David, and he said, I'm going to do this thing. Let's create a human chain. He was like, all right, how do we do that? It's like you stand here, Chris Elliott got behind him and like wrapped his arm around him, and then David said, "What now?" And he's like, "This is it."
Good job.
No, it was more sexual than that.
Yeah.
It was just beautifully. Yeah, I remember that one. That was and what now?
Bit of human chain.
This is it.
It was sexually awkward.
Oh yeah.
Filthy.
That was a great show. Yeah. What happened to that place? Oh well. I guess nothing lasts forever. All right. Well, did you guys have anything else you wanted to touch on? We touched on so many important things today.
Well, I was just wondering, the Highlander reboot with Henry Cavill is filming right now.
That's who's redoing it. It's Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Yeah.
it
So
hopefully it has
I
a
am
better ending.
very cautiously optimistic. Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, we'll see. I
Here's
I
hoping.
know everything.
they'll,
Cut.
I've said this before. I think I've said this before on the stream. The first movie, I wouldn't say the only movie, first movie that ever disappointed me, in the theater where I got up and I wanted to walk out of the theater was Highlander 2. Highlander 2 was about the most atrocious thing I'd ever seen.
Took you
And
that long, huh?
I sat through it and watched it, but man, that original cut, because they've recut that movie, director's cut and outlaw cut and all this other stuff, trying to make something out of it which made sense. I saw it in the theater when it first opened, and man, it was such a letdown compared to the first movie. I said, "Oh, this is going to be interesting. They're going to continue the story." Nope. I must have been, I don't know. I was in my teens when it came out, so terrible.
Okay, I am almost ashamed to admit this, but I'm going to. I used to, as a kid, I knew that movies were expensive to make, right? $1 million or millions of dollars, right? And I was like, I don't care what we go see because I know they spent millions of dollars to make these movies. They're going to be good. So as a kid, I didn't care. I was like, if they're going to spend that kind of money, it's got to be good. And I, to this day, remember the first movie where my illusion was shattered. And I come to find out, just by Googling it right now, it was the movie Defcon 4, which is about some astronauts on the space station. There's like a nuclear war, and then they have to come back down to Earth, and now it's a post-apocalyptic Earth, right? And the poster looks really cool. It's got the space station and this like astronaut, but with like a skeleton inside the suit, half buried in the sand.
I remember that poster.
And I'm looking at this poster going, oh, this looks really cool. And that movie I could have made for $50 in the backyard. It was awful. And I remember coming to that going, like that was a terrible movie. Like it was awful. I wanted my $4 back, which is what it cost to go to the movies in 1985. But the most embarrassing thing is because apparently I was 15 years old before I realized there were bad movies. So
no, I think
that's all I have to say about that.
That explains so much about you, your philosophy about movies, and why you look at them the way you do.
Yeah.
Now I feel like a giant corner piece of the jigsaw is now in place. And now the picture
has been put into place.
Yes.
Hold on.
Yes. A big old corner piece called Michael Bay. Yeah.
Hold on. Yeah, Defcon 4.
Yeah.
That,
and I think I saw it at Smallwood Theater down in Walworth.
Oh man, I remember that poster.
That poster is on. So I saw it on so many walls of so many video shops. Yep.
Right. Oh, that was awful.
That took me off what I was gonna make some other point, and that just took me completely out.
You were talking about this is why Mark watches movies the way he does.
No, it was something else I was thinking of while he was talking, and then he hit me with that philosophy, and that just derailed everything.
You were thinking of something else instead of listening to what he was saying.
Yeah, and I was gonna send you guys a voicemail about it later.
This is why those dreams happen right there.
All right. Oh, I know what it was. By the way, if you have a chance, I would love to see your input on a video a music video called "Elevator Operator" by Electric Callboy.
Elevator Operator
by Electric Callboy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. If you get a chance to watch that, I would.
That sounds very interesting.
I would love to see your input on that.
Does it have anything to do with? Does it have anything to do with the game?
No, it has to do with. No, it's a German band that apparently went to
Elevator
or
action.
goes to a club in Chicago, I think it is, where in order to get from the garage to the venue, you have to take an elevator. And there's some guy that, was an actual elevator operator on there. And this guy had like a vibe all his own or something, and it inspired the song.
Ooh,
so
this looks, I've pulled it up, and that coat he's wearing on the on the Stinger image that's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be interested to see what you guys think of that for next time. So you get a chance to listen to it.
Yeah, I'll definitely check this one out.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I actually enjoyed it. I didn't know or think
How
that I
did this
would.
come to your attention?
But I did. One of the guys at work.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the guys at work. Yeah.
Put that on my save to watch later list.
There you go. So, all right. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to touch upon before we?
Have you guys looked at the Marvel Rivals game ever?
No.
Okay. All right.
The Marvel what game?
Marvel Rivals. It's a free game.
You cut off Marvel
Rivals.
Yeah. Right. I downloaded it, but I haven't jumped in to play it yet. I've heard good things.
Yeah, I've seen bits and pieces. Gesundheit. I've seen bits and pieces of it, and some of the gameplay. It looks interesting. I guess it's team on team, kind of beat 'em up in an arena. Yeah, PvP arena.
Yeah, PvP.
Play. The graphics and stuff look great. I guess it's a free download. You can get it for free, so it doesn't cost anything. Is that correct? Is it free?
Yes.
I can't hear.
Good answer. That's great. That's the best answer.
Yeah, I said yes. Can you guys not hear me?
No, you cut out.
Am I on mute?
Cut out for once. Huh?
No, you
Run
pulled
for
the
office.
Rich.
That was beautiful.
You pulled a me. I haven't cut out at all. I don't think.
I pulled a Rich. I'm just gonna start moving my lips.
You've been
Mr.
current.
Senator, won't that very plan cost the nation about $15 billion to do that in wasted funds? and then Mark,
You've got to do better, Senator.
Yeah, it's very well done.
In the Winter Soldier. There we go. All right.
All right. Between the coughing and the sneezing and the construction, this is going to be a fun edit.
This is the best.
Well, I would leave it all in.
It is. This is real life. This is real life. I'm not going to edit it. I'm going to put the intro and the outro on the front and call it a day.
You think I'd be embarrassed about it? I really don't care.
Oh, Sean, there is something I did want to.
It's nice to have that kind of podcast, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
We could save it till the next one, based upon your background there and the Great Galactic Hunger Galactus back there. I'd like to know your opinions on the Fantastic Four trailer. So,
I watched
today.
it.
Okay.
No, I can give it to you real quick. I watched it. I enjoyed the trailer. See, I didn't want to go down this road though. I'm not going to watch the movie. I don't think, because Silver Surfer is one of my favorite characters of all time.
Yeah, I heard about
really love Norrin.
Well, you're in luck because Silver Surfer's not in it.
It's Silver Surfer. Shalabal.
Yeah, I know. That bummed me out so bad, man. I've been waiting for Norrin Rad to show up in the MCU for so long, and Galactus, and finally getting an actual Galactus instead of the cloud thing and all that.
Big helmet and all.
Man, that bummed me out.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that bummed me out. And it's not like Galactus didn't have any female heralds. He did.
Yeah, you had Nova, Frankie Ray.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Nova, Frankie Ray was she was in the last Galactus story, which is one of the best Galactus stories ever written. So, it's
are they not having? I know that the actress in the movie is that not going to be Frankie Ray, or like have
No,
they
it's
said
gonna
who
be
the
No.
character? I
It's
know it's a
gonna be-
female Silver Surfer.
It's going to be Nornrad's wife, who that's the whole point of Silver Surfer, was that he wanted not vengeance. I guess vengeance is the wrong word, but he wanted to have some sort of closure to being separated from his wife. So Shalabal. So Nornrad became the Silver Surfer. Wasn't it to protect his planet from Galactus?
Yeah.
So he became the Herald in order to save his planet, but in order to do it, he had to forever be separated from his wife. Now they've taken that and kind of turned it on its head, and now Shalabal is the Herald, which
See, that's what frustrated me. Is
And
that
she did it to protect her husband and the planet she's from. Who knows?
Because
Yeah,
he
but
needed that because yes,
that's what frustrated me so much, is that they have a female Herald.
yes,
They didn't need to do that.
They should have just made it Terrax the Tamer. I love Terrax.
Or
Terrax
Airwalker, or anybody. He had so many heralds, or make one up. I don't know.
The Mole Man.
That just bummed
Make
me
the
out.
Mole Man the Herald.
Well, like I said, all that aside, I did enjoy the trailer, and I thought it was really good at getting those like wacky 60s, 70s vibes of the first family. And I am kind of glad that it's not set today. You know what I mean? Where it's set, it seems like in the 60s or the 70s.
No.
63. Like, I'm kind of digging that, and I want to see where they go with it, and I'm on board.
I was bummed out because I was
But it's
watching.
me, so.
I was watching that
But it's me.
trailer, and I was feeling good about same reasons as you, Mark. And I actually was thinking about Drew. I was thinking, oh my God, this looks like something Drew would actually just love, right?
Yeah.
And then afterwards, because I had forgotten all about the Norrad thing, and then afterwards they brought up, and of course Shalabal is going to be, and it was, oh man, come on, and that just ruined the whole thing. That just pissed me off. It's going to take me out of the movie.
I've watched it enough times that I've managed to ignore Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, because I don't think he's perhaps the right actor to play that.
I don't
part.
know. I don't mind him with that. I mean, he's in everything. He's in the modern, Morgan Freeman and Samuel Jackson,
Cary Grant, whatever.
all that. Yeah. He's just in everything.
Where he was in
everything.
Yeah,
he's in everything. So that part. Maybe it's because I was just so focused now on the Norrad thing that just bummed me out, man. But yeah, I saw it, I liked it, and then I got really upset. So
I watched one of the Easter egg videos, which had all the things you missed in the trailer, and there's bits and pieces of it that I really like, and I'm getting into. I hadn't read Jonathan Hickman's run on the Fantastic Four, which is the current modern kind of John Byrne-ish style of popularity of the Fantastic Four, kind of reshaping them. So I've started looking at those and going through them, because modern Marvel is, I can't even stomach it, and that stuff is really good. So when I went back and looked at what they did with the movie, I was pleased to see that they paid a lot of homage to Jack Kirby's ideas, which that after what they did to the Eternals, I very down on their treatment of him and his family and his legacy and that stuff. So,
and I was very pleased with it too, until they reminded me of that. And, bummed me out.
Well, we'll see. So but I wanted to get your opinion on it, because my opinion at the beginning was very leaning towards the negative side, and now I'm kind of back to the middle. So it's interesting that it kind of grew on me over time.
Well, as a standalone, forgetting about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, just looking at that trailer and the movie that is supposed to come from that trailer, like, I'm here for it. I'm on board, right? We get, like you said, we get Galactus. We get this 60s vibe. We get, like, okay, Pedro Pascal, he's a good actor. Like, is he my vision of maybe Reed Richards? No, but I'm fine with it. The Sue Storm actress, she's fine. You know what I mean? Like, she's maybe not what I would picture Sue Storm as, but I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm going to give her a shot. She's better than Jessica Alba, right? Sue Storm is supposed to be a blonde, right?
Yeah.
And that woman is a blonde. You know, like you're gonna put Jessica Alba in your movie. Don't give her blue contact lenses and dye her hair blonde. Let her be Jessica Alba, or get an actress who's blonde. You know what I mean? Like that was one of those weird cases where if you're gonna retcon something, just make Jessica Alba. You know, like it didn't make any sense to me to have her try to be a blonde person. You know what I'm saying? I was like, that was dumb. So, but anyway, I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm looking forward to it. I understand what you're saying about the Silver Surfer, who wasn't even in the trailer, correct?
Yeah.
No, Silver Surfer's not in it. But I mean, this movie
Right.
is going to be connected.
Right. So I'm kind of like, okay, like I enjoyed it. Yeah, it's amazing to me that the Marvel Cinematic Universe did so well up until, you know, Infinity War,
Yeah.
and man, talk about
Captain Marvel.
taking a hard left turn.
Up until
You know, I want them to succeed. I want like Winter Soldier is one of my favorite movies ever. You know, like I could rewatch that just about any time. Most of those movies are just they're bangers. And since that one, it's been like, man, who's quarterbacking this cinematic universe that, you know, they've kind of gone off the rails. And I want good movies. I want them to be like, you know, if you're gonna go with Kang the Conqueror, you're gonna go with some other, you know, story. Secret War is coming up. Like I'm here for all of these. But my God, you know, come on, guys. You know, what do we do? You're spending $1 billion on these movies. Please, you know, put some of the effort that you did from the early ones into this. I don't know what's going on. We talked about this endlessly, but you know, now stepping back and looking at it, you're like, up to here, freaking great. There was a couple of missteps, but they're all forgivable given how good that whole phase 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, how many phases it was. They were great. We closed out Thanos. Awesome. All downhill.
Yeah.
What's been the big winner since Thanos? You know.
Yeah. I know.
There've been a couple that have been a good time, but there's been, you know, like the TV shows have been a disappointment. Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to turn this into a big rant on the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But part of that is I really want Fantastic Four to turn that page, you know, and if it's set in a different timeline, right, which I think it's going to be because it's like Fantastic Four in the 60s.
Well, no.
We haven't heard about anything related to that in any of the Marvel, other Marvel movies. So I'm here for it, and I hope they do a good job. I'm cautiously optimistic. Well, Rich?
What I suspect it's going to be, this is another dimension. This is another Earth. They've already, if you look at the trailer, and that was one of the Easter eggs that they showed in the trailer, is that Reed Richards is looking into the idea of the multiverse. So this is how they bring the whole multiverse thing together that they had with Loki and all the other and all the other movies. They're going to bring them all together, and then they're going to take over the plot of Secret Wars, which is what the second to next movie is. Next is Doomsday, and then I guess Secret Wars is after that. And the thing is that the Fantastic Four, if you know that storyline, and it is one of my favorites in modern comic book history, the Fantastic Four are integral to that storyline. They have to be there because they're the entire story. Their family and Doom and the interplay between them is all the whole story. And for them to, it has to be done correctly, or it's going to be a real. I like it. You went forward and back, and it did a neat effect. It has to It has to do a lot with it's out of your chair. It has to do a lot with that, and if they do it incorrectly or do it poorly, it's bad news down the line. So we're gonna have to wait and see. But
well, thank goodness they're going to spend a lot of money on this, so that means they're going to do it well.
Yeah,
I'm actually looking forward to Thunderbolts, but we can talk about that another time.
We'll talk about that another time.
Yep.
And if you get a chance, see Nosferatu.
Yeah, definitely another time. I've heard good things. Haven't seen it yet, but I've heard really good things.
If you get a chance, see Nosferatu.
Nosferatu. Oh, no, I'm waiting for it to come out on physical because I want to own that one. It looks great. His next movie, Werewolf, looks like it's going to be a banger. So Robert Eggers seems to be hitting it out of the park. So I definitely want to see Nosferatu, though.
All right. Well, on that note, there we are. We've ended on something positive finally. There you go. All right, boys. Thank you very much.
Goodness.
And I will see you all next time.
I'll be dreaming
Until
of you.
then, stay hydrated. Remember to love each other. Don't get arrested. Remember to sleep.
This concludes our Speak Nerd and Enter broadcast.